Hi, it's Sarah from Seamstress. Today I'm showing you how to We're back to our original pattern piece, which has come from our commercial pattern. We've traced it off onto newspaper or something similar, wrapping paper, tracing paper, so that we can make our changes to it. And we're going to make space in this sleeve pattern for a wider upper arm. The first thing that you need to do is the same as the previous alteration. The first thing you have to do is measure your seam allowances using the information from your pattern. So find the pattern, find out what the seam allowances are that are on your pattern piece, measure in from the edges, and then we need to cut off the seam allowance all the way around to give us our pattern piece which we're going to work with. On this pattern piece, the measurements that we are taking are from the top of the shoulder of the lady down to where the width first comes out away from the arm, and then down to where it tapers back in. So there might be a section, depending on the particular lady's body shape, which is wider. This lady here, she has a length where there's extra skin on her arm, which needs to not be too tight. For her, what we would do is we would have a look at how far down her arm the extra width becomes apparent, and how much further down her arm that extra width disappears again. And that distance is what we would need to measure. So from the top of the shoulder down to where the arm gets wider, and then down again to where the arm gets narrower again. And we would also need to measure the circumference at both of those points so we can make sure that we get the right fit. And it could be that it's wider at the top than at the bottom, but it's still too tight in the sleeve here. It might be the other way around. It depends on the shape of the person, but that's fine. Whatever measurements we get, we can work with. Again, we will draw a line down the middle of the sleeve. We then need to find out the measurement from the top of the shoulder to the top of where the arm begins to bulge, and to the bottom where it tapers back in again. And we're going to measure across horizontally from both of those points. That one's slightly out because I can't see from this angle, but it's fine. So we're going to have 6 hinge points this time where we're not going to cut through. We've got the top and the bottom, and then we've got the left and the right of both of these lines, and we're going to cut through each line, leaving the hinge points attached. So we now have this. The next thing we need to do is find out what the circumference is at each of these points. The widest points, top and bottom of the widest point on the lady's arm. Make sure that the width of the sleeve also has enough extra built into it to work as an ease. So if you find that your sleeve is, 30 centimetres across, and your arm at this point measures 34 centimetres, you will also need to build in extra for ease. So use a tape measure, find a shirt that fits you already and measure at that point of the sleeve, or use a tape measure on your body and wrap it around the 2 different points on your arm, holding the tape measure away from your skin until it feels comfortable. Move your arm around, make sure it fits nicely, and take the measurement that you get from that tape measure loosely around you rather than tight against your skin, because that is the ease that you need to make sure the sleeve has enough room for you to move around in freely. So if this was a 30 centimetre sleeve and your arm was 34 centimetres at this point, but 36 or 37 centimetres, because we need to add 2 or 3 centimetres of ease, depending on how you like your fit. We also need to measure the lower part of the area where the arm is too wide for the original fit of the sleeve, and we do the same thing again. So I'm going to say, for example, that with ease we are 6 centimetres short at this point and 5 centimetres short here, for example. Because this is a miniature version, I'm going to use quarter measurements so that we can actually work to scale. So working on a quarter, I'm going to open this 1.5 centimetres, and I'm going to open this 1.25 centimetres. So I'm going to hold on to the hinges, and working only on the top section at the moment, I'm going to open it up by 1.5 centimetres, which is there. So 1.25 is there. If I hold that, .5 at the top. Okay, tape quickly. Okay. So I'll double check those measurements now that it's taped. 1.25, 1.5, fabulous. Next I'll use a bit of scrap paper, which I'll pop in behind to tape that down properly. Then just trim off any excess. When you open up the space in the middle of the sleeve with these hinge points, what happens when you spread them apart is that these bits in the middle of the hinges overlap ever so slightly. And what that means is that you can lose length down the middle of the sleeve. Now if I get the original sleeve pattern piece before we altered it, if I compare these two by placing one on top of the other, measure that, and about 1.1 centimetres difference. So this piece is 1.1 centimetres shorter than that one. The way to counteract that is by adding extra length on to the bottom of the sleeve. If we want to gain back the full amount that we've lost, that is where we need to get down to. So I'm going to use a curve to make sure that we keep our underarm sleeve length the same. I'm going to curve away from that corner point, hit the full distance here, which is the extra that I've just measured, come back up again to meet the corner of the sleeve. So it's actually going to be a downwards curve like so. And that is our new sleeve pattern. So we have now added back the length that we lost over the outer arm. The underarm length is exactly the same as it was, the hinges never moved. The sleeve head is flattened, but it's the same length, so it will still fit inside the armhole of the garment. And this sleeve is now a slight outwards curve instead of an inwards curve, which it was originally, to counteract the length lost when we hinged the piece open. So that is ready to be copied onto another piece of pattern paper. We'll then need to put the seam allowance back on. And that is the final pattern piece with the extra space built in to go around a wider upper arm to make sure that your sleeves fit perfectly. If you have liked this video and you would like to click on the like button, that'd be fantastic. If you want to be notified of new videos when they come out, then please hit subscribe. All of the equipment that I've used today is listed in the description below, so check out those links if you're interested in getting hold of any of the things I've used today. And fingers crossed, that helps you with your pattern cutting in the future. See you again.